Well, hello there and welcome back to my channel. Today we're featuring something a little different for this channel. It's a car from a company called SG Pinecone Forest. They've been around for a little while. A lot of models you might have seen from theirs, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive models. They're not quite toy, they're not quite hobby grade, they kind of sit somewhere in between, but they're very popular, they're not too expensive, and they're great little models for getting going in the hobby of RC cars. Now, I'm usually a guy who likes to fly RC planes, drones, FPV quads. That's my main hobby, but I like cars as well, especially when it's a bit windy or the weather's a bit rubbish for flying. Then an RC car can perhaps scratch that RC itch that you maybe have. So we said it's from Pinecone Models, SG Pinecone Forest, and it's their new, I don't know, extreme sports car with a shock absorber system apparently. Okay, anyway, they've got a few models in their range, and this is the model that you might recognize, this guy here. So you can see that they do a larger version of this, and a few companies do it, but I think they're probably all the same company. Now this is slightly smaller, as it says it's a 1/24 scale. It's a little bit smaller, and also you can get it with a Wi-Fi camera that goes on top. This one doesn't have that, but you can get that as well. All the blurb is on there, so it's ready to run. Two-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive. It's LiPo powered. Got a charger included. It's electric power, well I assume so, because it's, you know, got a LiPo in it, and comes with a transmitter as well, an all-in-one ESC. I don't think there'll be much modding on this, and it has an ESP system, and it has a couple of sets of tyres, so you can go from grippy tyres to smoother tyres if you want to do a bit of drifting, perhaps around your living room. Shown already, there's a few models, and I've gone for the white kind of rally one, but that's the one that's perhaps, as you said, a bit more commonly known from this brand and other brands, but I think they're all the same anyway. So let's get it all out of the box and see what we get. Right, so what do we get in the box? Well, we get a transmitter. Looks okay, cheap and plasticky, but feels all right. 2 AA batteries, tells you which way they go, and they go in the bottom, and I've already put some in there. We get the car itself. Doesn't look too bad actually, it's quite nice, with some peel protection on there that we'll peel off in a minute. It's nice and shiny now. Look at that, very smart. Got the cover on it. On the car, so it keeps it nice and safe. What else do we get? Get some instructions, but who reads those? We get two teeny little wing mirrors to clip onto the body shell. We get a couple of extra body shell clips, just in case you lose one, because you're always losing these. We get the charge cable to charge it. This one you probably want to use because there's a little light in there when you plug it into the battery. That little light comes on, and then I assume it turns off when it's charged. And then you get the spare sets of wheels. These are for doing drifting, very smooth, a very hard plastic. You can see that, very hard plastic indeed, and they just slide on to the hub. So if you look at these are the soft tyres that comes with it, and they just slide off, and then these hard tyres will just slide on again. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple to do. So that's pretty much everything you get in the packaging. Quite straightforward, but everything you need. Let's have a look at the car in more detail now. Here's the car, looking very shiny. Yeah, very nice. As you can see, quite a nice body shell. As I said, quite familiar in design. The 4 clips, so we've just taken those off, so we'll lift that off very carefully. Okay, there we go. Put that to one side. The little wing mirror is just popped in, but they have decided to not pop in very well. So I've had to put some blobs of glue behind them, so hopefully that'll hold them in place. But to be honest, it's a soft little body shell. We're going to smash it to pieces and buy another one at some point. Anyway, put to the one side, and here's the actual car itself underneath the body shell, which obviously doesn't change. Now looking at this, we can see straight away what this is. You know, this is in the realm of toy grade, not really hobby grade. I mean, you just can look at it for a second and see that. Antenna for our receiver, make sure that's sticking up right. Got a couple of plugs here. If you can see, I'll turn it around the right way. You can see. So we've got the Wi-Fi connections. That's obviously to connect the little camera system that goes with some of these models, so it powers it and everything else. But that's a whole separate thing that, you know, most people probably won't be that bothered about. And then there's a little LED connection there, because some of these models come with little lights and things like that. This one doesn't, so obviously that's why it's clear. Have a little look around. We first come to the front of the vehicle. We can see, yeah, there's not really any what you call suspension. There's a certain amount of flex in these plastic parts here, and you can see from the way they've been shaped and textured like that to have strength in flex, so they can flex up on bumps. So not brilliant, but yeah, better than some little models. You can see there. I hope you can see this. I can't even get the focus in there, but I think by the sound of it, looks like there's a servo in there for steering. And you'll be happy to know it's all proportional. We'll get to that in a second. So as you can see, a little servo there. So that's pretty cool. I'm not sure if these front wheels, obviously they're not driven, have bearings in them, but they seem to spin quite freely. Might want to give them an oil every now and again. But yeah, it is what it is in the end. Great suspension. Go back to the back of the vehicle. Then we've got the rear suspension there. As you can see, it's like a spring, and then you've got some arms there, and it just, you could probably knock that spring out and put a stiffer one if you wanted to. Entirely up to you, but that's the suspension there. Get the camera to focus. As we can see, there's the motor there. It's a small brushed motor going into a gearing system on the back there. A little bit of a glisten, you can see there. It's obviously some of the oil leaking out. Might need to be topped up at some point, but I'm sure we'll take a couple of screws out. It probably unclip quite easily enough, and then you can do that without losing any of the little cogs and whatever. As you can see, there is no differential here. It is just single driven, but that should be fine. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe that does help with drifting. So there you go. This is like a little drift car, even though it's got grippy tyres on it. Yeah, so the little motor there. Brushless motors are good. Brushed motors are not as bad as they used to be. You shouldn't have to change that for a while, if ever. You know, you probably get bored of this model long before that motor goes and dies. But you should be able to find them and change one relatively easily. So all the electronics are all just sealed inside. So we're not going to bother opening up that. On the bottom, as we can see here, this is the chamber with the battery in, next to our on-off switch, which we'll get to in a second. We've got two slidey clips that we just move out to one side like that and like that, and then we pinch these two together, and the battery goes flying out. The battery comes out, and here's our little 1S LiPo. Get the camera to focus on it. Come on, camera. There we go. 300 milliamp 20C. Yeah, okay. 1 amp 1S LiPo battery. There's the connectors on the side. I think some of these models you can get with more than one battery, so that makes life a bit easier. And on the side of the battery you can see a little, once again if I can get to focus, a little USB connection there for the charger. So if we plug charge cap in like so, and then plug it into our little USB point, the light comes on there, and we've got a little light, you can see that on there, to show that it's charging, and one or both these lights go off when it's charged. I don't know, something will happen. It'll be a surprise for you. Here we go. Anyway, so that's a little battery, and that goes back in there. So now we get to the interesting bits. Let's turn on our transmitter and see what happens. Put the body shell back on again for reasons that will become apparent in a second. Let's see about turning on. So we're supposed to turn on the model first, get a flashy red light, turn on our transmitter, and it's bound. Done. Pretty straightforward. The very loud noise. Anyway, as you can see, hopefully you can see that, we have fully proportional steering, and there's a little gyro giving it some help to keep it on the straight and narrow, which should be cool, especially if you're just learning. So there you go, fully proportional steering. Very nice. And show why I put the shell back on. It's got a bit of go to it. It's not mega fast, but it's enough to rock this on the bench here. We've got proportional accelerator as well, so as I and brake and reverse. Pretty straightforward. We've got all our trims, so we've got our rates here, so as we give it full throttle and then turn it down, we can hear the motor slowing down and the motor speeding up. So if you've got little kids, maybe turn it right down, but I think most people are going to crank up to maximum and go for it, because you know, why not? And we've got some trims here, so there's the throttle set trim. We're going to muck about with that, it's set fine. But if we're getting a bit of drift to the left or right, we use this guy here, so you can see. Makes a horrible beeping noise when it gets to centre. But as you can see, click here and a click there, and it's adjusted. Not quite as nice as a little knob to turn left and right to get it fine. So obviously there could be some in between a click that might be the problem, but it is what it is. This is definitely in the land of toy grade, but it's got a bit of go to it. So I think the next job for us is to take this out and drive it somewhere. Cool. So we'll start out in the natural environment for a car like this, the bathroom floor. This is where they're mostly going to be driven, isn't it? Around the kitchen. But yeah, so you can see, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's like quite a, if I zoom in a little bit. Can you see there's a little bit of a glow there from the red light, so it gives it like a little bit of a neon underglow, which is quite cool in the twilight. We'll zoom back out again so you can see what's going on. But yeah, it seems to spin nicely. So yeah, as a little drifter, you can probably do quite well with this. So there you go. Right, that's the bathroom floor test. You can do donuts in the bathroom. Let's go outside and see if it does a bit better outside in a bit more space to muck about in. So here we are at the local park, and going to give it a little try. On the tarmac here, it's a bit smoother than the sort of rougher tarmac over there. As you can see, it's bouncy. But around here, it's really nice. Does really well. Donuts exactly as you want it. It's so easy to control with that gyro. Not what you call quick, but if you've got a little cool setup indoors, or you're trying to get kids into RC drifting, then this will probably do really well. Look at that. So there you go, the little RC car, Pinecone Forest. Nice little vehicle. It is a toy, but then aren't all these toys in the end? I'd say yes. My wife certainly says yes. Anyway, I'm going to continue driving this around for a bit. Hope you enjoyed this video. Perhaps I'll catch you one in the future. Like, subscribe, yeah, go on then. See you later. Bye bye.